Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending tonight's event for intentional hiking with photographer Tommy Corey about transforming outdoor spaces through photography. I am your host, Renee Shira Patrick, and I've been hiking long trails for over 20 years now and created this event series to help myself and others like you in the hiking community develop a culture of thoughtfulness and intention about the time we spend outside on trails. Each intentional hiking event you attend will be different and will be focused on one of the following themes: do, learn, create, be, and there will be a regional focus. So this one tonight with Tommy is a create event focused on learning more about pursuing creative activities while hiking. And I am bringing you all together through these events because I believe that we are a powerful force for change. Beyond developing an intentional hiking practice in our own personal trail experiences, I think the impacts and influence of our individual actions can help influence the world around us. If all of us cultivate our relationship with the trails and the environment by using our own individual passions, skills, and interests, maybe connections will be made at these events and beyond that will lead to new businesses, new organizations, new partnerships or collaborations. So in effect, I started this event series to convene the hiking community and empower action. My creative pursuit of choice is writing. I've always written a daily blog when I've been hiking, back to my first through hike of the Appalachian Trail in 2002. In fact, I've kept an online blog for all the trails I've hiked, except for the first one, which was handwritten. I've come to enjoy the time I spend writing so much that I can honestly say I do it for myself. If others find it interesting or useful, great. But the process of waking up each morning, making coffee, maybe 2 cups, and writing about the day before, most days, that might be an hour or 2 before I start hiking, has become one of the treasured times of any time I go hiking. In fact, I think my writing benefits tremendously from the fact that I'm outside, away from distractions like email, social media, and the endless chores that need to be done around the house. I can concentrate and reflect in a much deeper way when I am in nature, and I give myself the time to do so. So I make the time to do so. And I hope all of you also make the time to do your creative pursuits when you're hiking. And if you think there's not enough time, maybe make some more time. So these benefits are being studied by experts all around the world. In a recent article from The Guardian titled "The Nature Cure: How Time Outdoors Transforms Our Memory, Imagination, and Logic," reports that research has consistently demonstrated enhanced creativity after immersion in natural environments. One study found that a 4-day hike with no access to phones or other technology increased participants' creativity by 50%. 50% after 4 days. That's pretty amazing. And that's why I think so many of us get a lot out of through hiking and that deep time in nature. In another article I read recently, there was a quote by James Benning who said, "A simple definition of an artist is someone who pays attention and reports back." I love that. I love thinking that our time on trails and creating art, even if just for ourselves, is a result of paying attention and reporting back. So when we give ourselves extended time in nature, our creativity increases, our ability to pay attention increases, and our art, or reporting back, can be our way of shaping the world around us. I'll be interested to hear if this idea resonates with our guests tonight. So let's get into it. I wanted to feature Tommy Corey on this event, especially since he is using his creativity to create welcoming spaces in the outdoors. Tommy is an outdoor photojournalist who focuses on diversity and inclusion in outdoor spaces. Through his photography, he takes images of people of all walks of life and tells stories of the unique ways in which they connect to Mother Nature. I first learned about Tommy and his work when he was through hiking the Pacific Crest Trail in 2018 and had started a photography series called Hiker Trash Vogue, which made even the dirtiest and foulest of us thru hikers look elegant, beautiful, and alluring. He's working on a coffee table book that will feature portraits and short stories of 100 different humans from all realms of the outdoor industry. And he wants anyone who will pick up this book and flip through the pages to see themselves represented outside, because the outdoors are for everyone. So if you made donations for this event, that will go towards Tommy's 100 Humans of the Outdoors GoFundMe campaign. And if you're inspired and want to make an additional donation tonight, you can do so through the link that we're going to post in the chat. So let's bring Tommy on to get into some questions. All right, you can go ahead and come off mute. Oh, there you are. Thanks for joining us tonight. So let's start at the beginning. What prompted your interest?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. What got you started taking photos while you were outside hiking?
Yeah, I mean, I've been taking photos since I was 12. And I spent a lot of time outdoors growing up in Northern California near Mount Shasta. My dad took us fishing and camping and hiking basically my entire childhood. So when I picked up photography, it was just natural that I always brought my camera along. So when I did the PCT, it was obviously I wasn't gonna natural to just bring that with me. And yeah, that's about
Great.
it.
So it kind of happened naturally. So what about Hiker Trash Vogue? Like, where did that come from when you were on the PCT? Was that intentionally? Did you say, I want to show these dirt bags looking beautiful, or how did that all start?
Yeah, I'd say it happened sarcastically because I was like the people I was hiking with, we were about, I don't know, like 300-ish miles in. Taking a day off, whatever that town, Wrightwood. It's in the desert. And we had gotten an Airbnb and we were on our 0 day. And I just had this quirky idea. I thought it'd be funny if everyone grabbed a piece of gear and pretended like they were models, and it was just to just be silly, and I wasn't even thinking really anything would come of it. I just thought it would be something that was funny. And so I took 9 different portraits of everyone. People were using their backpacks or using their tents or like whatever, and I posted that thread of like photos to my Instagram, which I think at the time I only had like 1,000 followers on. But I just did all the like, tag the PCTA, tag, do the hashtags, all that stuff. And it just kind of like blew up. Like all these people started commenting on it and were like, oh, this is really cool. So that kind of gave me the idea. I was like, well, could be like a really good way for me to, I mean, uh, to not just take photos along the trail, but to like kind of like split up the days that can feel monotonous or boring or or the days that are hard, which it kind of ended up being like that. And days when I was like really frustrated or kind of like tired, I'd just be like, if I like sit down and like wait for the next person to take some photos, I know it'll just like change my mood, it'll make me happier. And it was also just like a really cool thing to share with the people I was hiking with. So I'd say it was organic, but it also was like me just kind of being a clown and being sarcastic.
So you said the hiking community just sort of blew up and loved it. And I did see, I think from start to finish, like when you finished the trail after all of that, what was the response like? Did you have a ton of new business coming in, a ton of leads for other photography work?
Yeah, when I finished the PCT, I guess that's when people started kind of seeing um my work and hiring me for like random jobs, like, oh, we have, some new shoes or like a jacket, take photos of this. But I always knew I wanted to like do something on with them, like more of a storytelling aspect. So, like a couple years after the PCT, I went on to do um, some like short films and whatnot. And that kind of like what led me here.
That's a gorgeous one.
Okay.
Do you have little stories behind some of these photos or uh, anything you want to
Um,
share?
yeah, I'll go through them, and I mean, some of them are literally just we're just hanging out. Like this was in the river at Kennedy Meadows. Um, and oh, this one was a I was obsessed with the Got Milk campaigns when I was a kid, and I like collected all of those like, those ads in the magazines, and I knew on the trail I wanted to do a Got Milk ad, so this was part of the Got Milk Hiker Trash Vogue campaign. Sorry, this internet at this shitty hotel is not
It's
ideal.
okay. So while it's loading, what kind of equipment were you carrying? Were you using just a cell phone or?
No, I mean, I carried my camera. Well, I think I was shooting with the Canon 7D, and I just used a prime lens with 50 millimeter. Um, and then I just had like a little thing that went into my phone that I could put my SD card in to upload my photos at the end of the night, and then I just edited everything on my phone at the end of the night. So yeah, all of these photos were taken on my camera, but edited just right on my phone.
And how did you keep it clean? I mean, that's keeping anything clean is a challenge on the trail. Oh, there we go. There.
There we go. Finally,
Nice.
Jesus. I kept my camera in two dry bags, so I had it in one dry bag, would roll it up, and then put it in the second dry bag. And yeah, I mean, it was completely fine when I finished the trail. Like I was really good about like putting away if it was raining or if it was like, or I would wash my hands and like clean them off before I would use my camera if I could. And so I at the end of the night sometimes I'd have like extra wet wipes and like wipe down my camera and just so yeah.
Gosh, so it seems like some of these were pretty spontaneous and others like the milk, you're like, I want to use milk. I'm gonna plan this out. Or did they all have an element of spontaneity to them?
I'd say most of them are like pretty spontaneous, especially just because like when you're through hiking, you're moving constantly, right? Like you're constantly walking. And so sometimes I'd be walking with people like this moment. This is on the aqueduct, and I was like, "Oh, the sun's great. We should, this would be a cool photo to take here." But a lot of the times I'd be walking alone, and I would be paying attention to like what the lighting was doing, or like what nature looked like. And so I'd sit and I would wait for people to come, and whoever like the next hiker was is usually who I'd photograph. Like stuff like this is when I was like at camp, so I'd get whoever I was camping with that night and kind of just pose them. Um, and so, but I would say for the most part, like they everything was like pretty spontaneous, which made it really fun. Is a good way to like kind of split up uh, the monotony of some of the days.
Right. Oh, beautiful photos. So then that sounds like the opposite with this new project, 100 Humans, and that it's all very planned out, very thought out. Is that fairly accurate to say?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of kind of had to be. I spent about 4 months interviewing like 200 different people, and then I narrowed that list down to the 100 and or yeah, the 100 at the time. Then we decided on 101, but yeah, I mean, and then I had to like go through and like kind of see where everyone lived in the country, and then kind of I would, I wasn't gonna like fly out to New York several times, so I said, okay, when can I come out? When are like all 6 people in New York available for me to go shoot? And so I kind of planned it that way by region, so that I could just like hit each spot one time. Obviously, like the West Coast, because I live on the West Coast. I kind of like had to go back and forth to LA a few times. I've just had to come up to the Northwest a few times, but those are like a lot more accessible than like going back and forth to the East Coast.
And so with the 100 Humans project, was there a specific problem you wanted to solve or desire to make a change in the world around you? Like that said, I want to see more people represented outside. Like, was there something specific that prompted this project?
Um, I think I have just been, and I'm probably speak for a lot of people when I say this, but I think I've just been um, overwhelmed in the last few years with the multitude of issues and just even that lie outside of, the outdoor realm, right? Um, and I've always wondered, like, how can I do my part to like leave things better for like the next generation. And something that always speaks to me is, inclusivity, making people feel like they belong, bringing people into community. But I just didn't really like know how to do that for a long time. um, but I think it's like when I started doing short films, I learned like, you know I connect really well with all different types of people. I am a storyteller. And when I was on the CDT last year, I kind of had the idea. I was thinking about like when I'm done with the CDT, which I did not finish because I quit trail to do this project that I'm working on now. But I kept thinking like, what could I do with like the things I already know how to do or that I'm good at to like put forth a message of like inclusivity or community, and especially when it comes to the outdoors. So I thought, well, I've always wanted to be an author and I've always wanted to publish a book, so I could spend this time photographing 100 different people and kind of tell the short stories of how they have found community in the outdoors, how they have found belonging, but how they've also like used those experience to make the outdoor space better for others. So a lot of the stories you'll read in the publication will be about not just how they've benefited personally, but how they've kind of like left it better for the next person. It's like kind of like the ultimate LNT, I think.
Nice. Um, do you have a few photos you'd be willing to share from that? I know if you follow Tommy on Instagram, he has been sharing a lot of them on his Instagram account. Um, but I
Yeah,
think it would be fun to see a
I
few.
yeah, I got a bunch here.
Oh, and that
You guys
is
can still
a
see
Bend
those.
resident, Wesley. Yeah,
Yeah, that's Wesley.
yeah. So tell us the storytelling component. Are you a writer? You said you wanted to be writing. Has that been um, an interesting, fun, or bigger challenge than you thought to integrate it into this project?
Um, Writing is enjoyable, but challenging. I it's especially like when you're like writing stories for other people. You want to make sure, and each story will only be about 600 words. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like to capture someone's essence in a photo is easy. To capture who they are in like 600 words to get like a point across or to like share a message, I have found to be difficult. There's been a lot of writer's block, and but I don't know. I work good under pressure, and with my deadline looming, I feel like I'll get it done.
Yeah. And so on your GoFundMe page, it says, my goal is not just to show the diversity of people who love the outdoors, but show the beautifully unique way these people connect to Mother Nature, protect outdoor spaces, find belonging, and create community. So you've mentioned that. Has that goal changed at all since you've been out there and meeting these people and taking photos, or is it just like reinvigorated, like, yes, reinforced your original goal?
I mean, that what that is like that is like a goal, and I feel like that's just one to for people to like read. But I think the really like kind of the really personal goal is to kind of get us all back to the empathetic people that we are. I think, with especially with everything going on in the world right now, like we could all use like that kind of innate characteristic we're all given, which is to be empathetic, right? I think we're born with that, just like we are born with the capacity to love and feel love. Obviously, a lot of us as adults fall short of that with, the just like pain and trauma and shit we have to endure throughout our existence as humans. And I just want people to like look at this book and read these people to like what it is to be empathetic as a human, because I think empathy that sense of belonging that I think we should be afforded as a human being.
Yeah. And so how did you find all your 101 people?
I through Instagram, through Google searches, through word of mouth. I just talked about the project a lot and then, people would tell me about their friend or someone they know. And so, yeah, it was kind of is there's Jeff. That's
Yeah.
kind of a funny story how I found him actually.
Yeah,
Uh,
let's hear it.
when I'll keep it on the photo right now. But yeah, Jeff, I was on last summer, I was on a flight from Denver to New York, and I was like getting on the little bus to go to the airport. Um, and this older lesbian couple behind me, like one of them like was making fun of my sock tan because I had just gotten off the CDT. And I was like, oh yeah, I was just on the CDT. It was just, just hiking, whatever, for a few months. And she was like, oh yeah, we've done the Colorado Trail, blah, blah, blah. So we started naturally like talking and kind of, vibing. And um, they were asking about my work and what I did. And I said, I'm a photographer. I'm starting to work on this book. I'm interviewing people and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, interesting. I told her kind of like what the book was about. And she said, well, I used to work at the Nature Conservancy with this guy named Jeff Babb. He started this really incredible company called Adventure, which is shown here in the photo. But she was telling me all about it and like, how like what the whole mission behind the company is. And I was like, oh, that sounds like someone I would love to meet. Where does he live? And she says he lives in Bend, Oregon. I'm like, I live in Bend, Oregon. And that's where I was living at the time. And so I literally was like getting off the bus. They gave me his card. And as I was walking to the airport, I sent him an email saying, hey, I just met your friends, Mary and Sue. And they said to contact you for this project I'm working on. I'd love to meet you. And he emailed me back immediately. And when I got back home, I like went over his house and met him and his wife and got to interview him and then eventually photograph him, which was just like a month ago.
Yeah, and funny story. So I was at an outdoor conference and had met Jeff and was hiking with him that morning, and you were coming out that day to photograph him. So it was like
That's what
this
he
small
said.
world. Yeah. But so what was the reaction of a lot of the people you're photographing? I don't know, like had they been photographed in this way before? Like were they excited to be a part of your project? What was that like?
Yeah. I'd say most people haven't been photographed, and I prefer those types of people too because they're easy. I feel like it's easier. They're easier to photograph than like like a professional model, right? Because models move a lot and do their own thing. And I like photographing people like this because um, there's also like a sense of trying to find the right word. I don't know, like people are just like kind of nervous in the beginning. You have to kind of really adjust to each other. Like they have to kind of get to know me. I have to kind of get to know them. And even though like a lot of the photos can be a little bit serious or like their expressions are serious, behind the scenes we're just having a blast. And I'm just like I'm just making jokes, making them feel comfortable. Um, yeah. Does that answer the question? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And so now I want to hear a little bit more about the GoFundMe. You're close to the end. You're like, what's left to do now? Are you funded or you're almost funded? And then what happens now? The hard work of putting it all together?
Yeah. Are we done with photos, by the way?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. That was the end. Cool. Yeah, now it's just a matter of finishing the writing. I have a few more people to photograph, um, and I have to make it to Alaska, and then the other gal who will probably be the last person to photograph. She moves around a lot, so that is TBD. But that has to be in January because everything's got to be done February 5th. But yeah, the GoFundMe money just helps me like pay for all the stuff that like I mean I've traveled to almost like 100 different places, 100 different people, that hotel, gas, flights, food, just all that stuff. Um, so yeah, almost to the goal at this point. Like it's gonna be done, but it helps offset those costs as I've probably put about 15 grand of my own money into it already.
Yeah. So for those hikers out there that want to spend more time on photography, it sounds like we have a few in the audience while they hike. Do you have any tips to share? Like people who want to do more photography while they're hiking? Sounds like maybe what you had mentioned was be spontaneous, like look for the lighting, the people. So react and sort of keep your eyes open. Would you say that's a good tip?
Yeah, I say, or also I think just like not putting so much pressure on creating, like h- for me Hiker Trash Vogue was such like a big like important part of my life because obviously, I was through hiking while I was doing it, but I just I wasn't like thinking about it so hard, right? Like I was going about my day enjoying this thing that like not a lot of people get to do, doing like at the time the hardest thing I had ever done. So like I wasn't putting all this pressure on myself to like create something good. I was just like having fun. And that I mean that's what a lot of this project has felt like too, even though it has had to be more intentional. I I've just been, like I show up with like a shot list, but it's more like let's go with the flow and see who this person is first and how we connect in person, and then we'll go from there, because I think that's a really important part of like a, photographer model relationship, is like really kind of building that trust together. So depending on what you're photographing, I think, yeah, just like not putting too much pressure on yourself, and just remember that it's about having fun, and it's just about creating. That's what I always feel like. As long as I'm creating, then I'm happy with that.
Nice. Are you open to a question or two from the audience?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone has a question, go ahead and type it into the chat or a comment, or I think some of those photos were just amazing. I'm so excited for the finished product. Well, the one with Mira, I recognize Mira Valarno. I'm not sure of her last name. With the
Uh,
shoes. How did you get the shoes
Myrna
there?
Valeria.
How
Oh,
did
that
that
was
shot happen?
so. I had my camera on a tripod, and then I lay like me, her, and her son were all just throwing shoes. So I just did like 4 or 5 different exposures and then like overlaid them basically.
Yeah, that's stunning. Okay, we have a question. Did you take any footage of your trip to visit everyone? It would be cool to see a behind the scenes style documentary.
I did for the first like 30 people, and then I realized it was just so much extra work. I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass now that I didn't, though, because I think this would be a really cool, interesting documentary of just meeting all these people and spending time with them and kind of seeing the behind the scenes. But I am possibly going to start working on a second one, and um that's the idea behind maybe the next one, is like to also do a little documentary about the building of it and what it kind of like what it took to make.
Yeah. And then we have a question for hikers editing photos on their phones. What do you have an app you think works best?
Yeah, it's at the time I was only using this app called Visco. It's VSCO, and then I was using another app called Calla, Calla. Um, and but now like now what I primarily use is Lightroom. On you can have I think it's on iPhone and Android, and Lightroom you could do so much with. There's like it's pretty amazing. So I highly suggest Lightroom if you want something that's really versatile and you really want to like change. You could just do so much with it.
Nice. And this will do our last question. Did you receive any money from Hiker Trash Vogue, or was it just for fun?
Well, I self-published a book of my work when I was finished. Um, Self-publishing, there's not a lot of money in, so I would say, like, not really. Um, I did it like, the thing that was kind of, uh, annoying about that was I printed like 200 of the books thinking like, okay, maybe I'll sell like 100 or something. And then I ended up selling out of all of those. So I had to do another run. So I was like, okay, I'll do another 200, and then those sold out. But like the things that works with like when you're when you're printing a lot of books is like the more you print, the more discount you get. And so I ended up selling like 700 of them, but I was like doing them in like, I think I ended up printing four different batches. So I lost a lot of money on that. But honestly, it was just about the experience and the fun. And I was just excited that people even like wanted to have a book of my work. So yeah.
Right on. Yeah, so thank you so much for coming on, Tommy, and sharing your photos and some of your story. So I want to put another plug out there for those of you that are interested in supporting what's almost the completed project. Please visit his GoFundMe site and make a donation. And through the donations, all of you contributed at registration. I'll be making a $60 donation to his efforts after the event. So thank you, all of you who donated. So now we're going to transition to the giveaway portion of the evening. So this is one of my favorite things that I carry, very ultralight. It's a long handled spoon with polished bowl, and it's pretty and it's a real pleasure to eat from on the trail. I've been using Toke's titanium products for years now and just love how lightweight everything is. So they produce titanium gear and were established in Thousand Oaks, California, thus Toke's Thousand Oaks. And they've been making titanium products for over 20 years now. So I wanted to share a few words from founder Julie Shang about how Toke's approaches their work with intention. She said, for every product that goes out our door, we always have the intention to make sure it is reliable and will best serve our customers in their outdoor environments. All our products are designed by our own engineering team. We provide ultralight pots and cookwares to reduce the burden on hiker shoulders and design products with our users in mind, including one of the most fuel-efficient alcohol stoves on the market, the Toke's Siphon Alcohol Stove. And they also have a wood-burning stove that's award-winning. So I use both the alcohol and the wood-burning stove, in addition to that beautiful polished spoon that we're giving away tonight. So the first giveaway, let's keep the topic focused on food. So this is going to be a subjective question, so there's no right or wrong answers. Type into the chat your favorite hiking meal and why it's your favorite. And I'm just going to pick one of you to win. So I'll give you a minute to think and type. What is your favorite hiking meal and why? Oh, yes. Nemo says the Thai peanut slaw. That was food for the soul. That was slaw. That was one of my favorites as well. Chicken and rice. It's always as good as at home. Yes, it's a good staple. All right. Well, I am going to pick Todd for your chicken and rice because it's good at home. It's good on trail. So Todd, we will get your information from you and get one of those sent out to you in the mail. But I'm going to give another one away. So this one is for another spoon. The first person to type the right answer into the chat wins. What does GORP stand for, as in trail mix? What does the acronym stand for? Good old raisins and peanuts. Yes, Todd, you win that one too. So maybe we'll, oh, Aaron was second. So you two will get a spoon out to Aaron and a spoon out to Todd. So thank you both. Spell check. Good. So thank you to Tokes and for all of you for chiming in. So if you or someone else you know, a company you know would be interested in sponsoring a giveaway at a future event, I hope to have one at every one of these. So please email me for more information. And so now we're going to transition to the conversation portion of the event. So we're going to be randomly sorting you all into breakout rooms of 3 people. You could end up being with someone you know, but I imagine each time you attend an event, there will be a different group of folks you will get a chance to meet and talk with. I will prompt the conversation with some potential questions for you all to discuss related to the theme. The ask is that you focus on being intentional and thoughtful as it relates to the topic, and to think about a related action you could take on your next hike. I think it's important to remember that two people will need to listen at any one time, so I encourage you to practice your listening skills. And beyond answering a question or two from the prompts, I hope you will take this opportunity to get to know each other. I've heard from folks at a few of the last events that they really connected with other hikers in their breakout rooms and are now in touch outside of these events. I love that. I hope new friendships or hiking partners will be made during these conversations. And I like to equate this portion of the event to the serendipity of the people you meet on trail. You are all interesting people with wildly different backgrounds and might connect through a shared love of hiking. So when in these conversations, please engage with curiosity, an open mind, and respect. Lead with kindness and compassion. Listen to understand, not reply. And no judgment, no advice, unless someone specifically asks for your advice. So the breakout rooms will be open for 15 minutes, and you will see a countdown timer for that time. There will be an additional minute added on at the end so you can finish any last thoughts. When the breakout rooms close, we'll all come back together, and there will be an opportunity to share any notable conversations or takeaways you might have had from your discussions. And please use the chat when we come back together. If you don't want to share with the group, but you have an action you want to take, go ahead and pop that into the chat. So now I want to share some conversation prompts with you. Focus on the topic, creativity and creating welcoming spaces on trail. So these are just some ideas. How do you think trails and outdoor spaces could be more welcoming to all? What are barriers to trails that you've noticed in your community? Could be physical barriers, language, cost, distance from home. And can you think of one small way to address one of those? Or maybe a larger systemic one? Have you ever experienced an unwelcoming experience on trail? What could have made it better? Could you have done anything differently? And think creatively. What are your skills and strengths that might help move the needle on one of these issues you have identified?